Uh, Good morning, friends. Today we're going to study about the next bit of DNS, that is called fully qualified domain name and partially qualified domain name. What actually these both topics related to DNS? So, as we suggested that DNS is nothing but an alias name to our IP address. So, here that fully qualified domain name represents a name. So, what its definition? Let's study. If a label is terminated by null string, then it is called as fully qualified domain name. It contains a full name of host. It contains all label from the host to root. For example, csc.coe.swery.ac.in dot. So we can say that this is an example represents the complete a website with ending with a dot. So this format is called as fully qualified domain name. So in the definition, it is also explained that host to root. So in our this diagram, we can see here. So this is your host. This is your host machine. From where to till the root is nothing but a fully qualified domain name. For example, consider that we have a website called www.google.com. But while ending in the last .com dot, that represents the root. So when we have at the last in the end of that particular website dot, then it is called as fully qualified domain name, that is called as null string, terminated by null string. So a website which doesn't end with dot is called partially qualified domain name. Okay, so in the definition also we can see what is partial qualified. If labels is not terminated by null string, it is called as partial domain name. So what is that partial domain name? Not ending with your root. So here is root. So root having the last dot, and if it is ending with last dot, then it is called as uh, fully qualified domain name. If it's not ending with the dot, then it is called as partially qualified. For the example, here also we can see difference. So here is the example given: challenger.atc.fhda.edu. But in the partially qualified, there is not ending with the dot. That is the main difference between partially qualified and fully qualified. One more difference we can say that suppose we have a website, we have an IP address. So I written a website name called as www.google.com. I just enter that domain name. So when I enter that domain name, it goes to the root name because it's ending with .com. So here is edu. So instead of edu, the diagram we can have a .com. So in that .com we have Google domain name. In that dot we have www. So in this fashion, it will going to find that particular website. Okay. So next, what is a domain? So already we said that it is a sub tree of or sub part of our domain namespace. So we have already domain. So root is the main domain. After that we have a diagram called here. .com is a subdomain of root. Edu is a subdomain of root. After that still we have uh, subdivided into the subdomains. So each node represents a domain. So here definition also same says that a domain is a subtree of domain namespace. Domain name is the name of the node at the top of the subtree. So top is nothing but root and sub is nothing but .com, .edu, xyz. So what is next? So next is nothing but distribution of namespace. What is the distribution of namespace? As we see this concept, so it is very simple that our systems or whatever the names we define to a particular websites, it is very huge. If you consider only in our country in India, so there are a lot of websites. Even we don't know about those website names, blogs names, which is given a particular IP to particular person. So there are a lot of websites. For that we have to we have an IP address, and those names we have to store in somewhere location through which we can directly check when a client enters the website, and it will search in the DNS server and find out that particular IP address, and it will bring you that particular page to you. So to maintain this all, it is not possible to store that information in a particular location. We have to distribute it. So that is nothing but the distribution of namespace. The information contained in the domain namespace must be sorted. It is insufficient and not reliable to have one system to store huge amount of information. So as already said, there are a lot of websites, so we don't have that much space to store in a one location. If we store also, there may be a huge traffic in the network to access those websites, and it is unable to handle that, and may system get lost, so all the information will be get lost. So same point is explained in next point. It is inefficient to correspond to the request of all over the world places a heavy load on the system. It is not reliable because if failure makes, the data will be inaccessible. Similarly, so we have to distribute our namespace. So if you have .com, so the .com sub. If you have edu sub, up arpa sub. If you have Cisco company, so Cisco company having the sub websites of their in their particular subdomains. So in this way we have a distributed system or a distributed manner of tree structure to manage our load. So how it will be managed? So we have a hierarchy of name servers. So what is that hierarchy of name server? The information is distributed among the many computers called as DNS server. So as I said that we have .com. So .com having the sub Google, Google having Google Gmail mail server. What are the Google products that will be managed under Google? So those having the subtrees of Google. So main will be a .com. So similarly, we call those all domains is nothing but a DNS server. So the whole space is divided into the subdomains based on the first level. The root is the first level of the domain, and further it is divided into the small domains called as the subdomains. So each server can be responsible for either large or a small subdomain. So it's not that it will be a big server, but it will be equally distributed the manage, so that information cannot be or the system cannot be get overloaded. So similarly, an example shown in this diagram about the hierarchy of name server. So first information always will be the root server. So from main root server, it will going to divide into the subdomains. So first subdomain will be a ARPA server, which is used for reverse addressing when we don't have name of that website, but we know the IP address of that website. So in vice versa, we can work on that. So if I give an IP address, then it will give me the name. If I give the name, it will give me the IP address of that website. So similarly, that is nothing but next is education server, edu server, commercial for .com server. In that they have made subdomains, and they may have even more subdomains. So this is about the India, something we consider that US is nothing but .us server. So dot also here also a .in server also, it may be depending upon the situation of our root server. Overallly, what is the distribution of namespace? The distribution of namespace and hierarchy of namespace. Name servers is nothing but dividing our complete network of DNS into